Recordings in progress. Good evening, y'all. It's Monday, February 13th of 2023. Um, this is Django REST framework. I've talked about this before. I've said, hey, we don't teach this initially, or we don't teach this. And we've kind of, Code Platoon has bounced a little back and forth about whether or not they actually wanted to cover this material. And evidently, we're back on it. In fact, Chad just kind of wrote up this lesson on Saturday, and then I've been kind of cleaning it up a little bit so it works. And it's uh, it's fine. It's good. It's basically we're just utilizing the serializers from the Django REST framework um, to serve things differently. So when we built full stack Django applications, we have built the back end. We built our URLs, we built our models, we built our views, model view controller, not in that order, and we've served templates of HTML. A template of HTML is not particularly useful to your React application. You don't want to have to scrape HTML to get what you want. You want JSON, or you want TOML or YAML or XML. You want something you can work through, something you can grab with your React applications. And React applications' favorite food is JSON, and a lot of people's preference. So what we need to do is turn these models into JSON. Prior to this, if you recall, we would serve up templates, we would feed it Python, and that Python would have data objects straight out of the database. We pull it out of the database, we say, this is an instance of this, let's fire it off to the templates, and we'll be able to do dot methods on it. So like, if this is your, what would I say? Like if we were feeding up our dog, website, this would be like dog.name, even though in Python, you can't really dot things. Usually if you're doing a dictionary, you have to square brackets, name and quotes. So those data objects, those instances, those classes, basically, we can't really feed that directly to JSON. What we could do is convert them to a dictionary, convert that dictionary to JSON, and then feed that JSON just blankly. And that is fine. That is a way to do it. It's messy, and you have to hand roll quite a bit of it. What we're going to be using is Django's REST framework, which is going to use a serializer. And basically all serializer is convert this data type into this data type. To take these models, these instances in the database, and convert them to JSON that is usable by React. And then your assignment for today is, once we build this out, I'll have a completed version here at the end, or I can give you my more than completed version, because I want to show you all a few different things beyond what this talks about. You're going to hook it up to your React application. Does that make sense to everyone? Does everyone know what I'm talking about when why this is necessary? And if not, it's okay. It will become clear. But if you have any glaring questions, let me know right now.
Yes, you said hook up to React. That means just like make API calls to, or React
sorry.
make API calls to the just
Yes.
clear.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, but by hookup, I mean we are going to be referencing its URLs. We're going to be referencing its routes. That's all the hooking up. These, quick piece of advice, don't put these in the same repository, probably. You will find them sometimes a little difficult to deploy if you have a Django application and a React application wrapped up in one repository and try to fire that off somewhere. Keep these projects separate. Don't version control them together. We'll get into why you don't want to do that for some reasons, and then other reasons being, I don't know. We're separating the concerns here. So we're going to be using it as an API. Full stack applications that utilize different backend and front end languages have to connect through an API. Serializers I talked about. In order to send a Python object to the front end, we're going to translate an instance of an object into another format and send it to the React front end. That format is going to be JSON. But the serializer is going to take care of a lot of that for us. We're going to do what I said we're going to do. Again, stretch. Use the Django REST framework to serialize data. Yeah, we're going to do that too. That's not a stretch goal. Lesson. I kind of talked about a lot of this. Run back through it, but what I wanted to get at with reasons why you want to split things up. The big one in the real world is here. In some cases, it's fine to have your single monolithic framework, all one big application running out of one thing, one big Ruby on Rails sort of deal. But in the real world, that's a pain because it's hard to track down a bug the larger your code base gets. So that's why microservices are a thing. We're going to be setting up a back end and separately setting up a front end. If you've got an error with the data, you don't want to just not be sure where to go. You want to be able to test the back end, verify that data goes in, data goes out, and does what it's supposed to do. So you can kind of figure out where problems are actually stemming from. Also, it makes version control a little bit easier when you're not like adding stuff to your back end and your front end and running it as one giant feature. You really kind of want to do that in a step process. They reference each other. Like we just said, we're not plugging them together. These are two separate applications that talk to each other. Into the concept of microservices and service-oriented architecture. Yep, this idea builds off of single responsibility code, and that the app in that one app does one thing. We don't want an app that does too much, because again, debugging can be really difficult. And it's fun when you build it yourself and you can figure out real quick where it's from. But if you build something and I'm trying to go work on it, I don't want to spend 2 or 3 hours trying to learn how your application works front to back just to solve a quick bug. The more you separate your concerns, the easier it is to debug things, the easier it is to maintain things. You read through that if you like, but that's what we're doing. Today we're going to create a Django API that keeps track of different wines and returns JSON instead of HTML. In your Ticketmaster challenge, you used JSON, and you got that from Ticketmaster, not HTML. Again, you wouldn't be able to do anything with HTML. It would be very difficult to work with. You want JSON. It's good for eating. Using that JSON, we were populating, blah, blah, blah. Setting up our API. Let's get started by doing a Django project. I had to look it up because I already forgot how to start a Django project. But as you see here, fresh, empty, no files here. This is a new thing. This doesn't quite have every piece you need, but y'all should remember how to do some of this. First, we're going to start a virtual environment. Yeah, we're going to activate that virtual environment. We init. Then we're going to pip install Django and Django REST framework, just like that. We'll install Django and some tools from Django REST framework that we'll be getting into a little bit today. Now create a project called Wines. Does anyone know how to do that? I think I remember.
It's Django.
Django dash admin. Yeah, create project.
It's start project.
Start project.
Django / admin start.
There we go. Sorry, I was reverse searching it. We'll call it my project. No, actually, it told us we were going to call it Wines. Good memory, y'all. Done so. Then an app called Wine API, which is something like app. I need Vim on my terminal. Wine API. Yep, looks good. So created a Django application project called Wines. Within it, we have our Wines project stuff, and then we've got our Wine API. This is the application. Continuing on, update your installed apps to include REST framework and Wine API. Got to do that. Don't forget about that. You can get pretty far in your setup while forgetting this. You're not going to be able to get. I'm going to copy down Wine API, and what was it? REST framework. REST framework. All right. Install apps, Wine API, that makes sense. REST framework, that may not make sense, but that is pip installed, part of Django. If you want to use one of Django's tools, it needs to end up in this install apps. So we're going to use it. This is not crazy new. We've plugged things into install apps before. Let's create this wine model. A lot of review here. None of this should be too crazy. We go to models.py, and we're going to copy this, paste it. Let's get a quick look at it. Django DB, import models, we're going to need that. Utils for time zone. We're going to be doing the thing I don't love, but I guess it's useful. The created at, just going to default to time now. But our wines, we're going to have a wine name. We're going to have a price. Varietal, which I guess if you know what you're talking about is like the kind of wine, like, I don't know. I drink Malbecs. But other stuff like Cabs and Chardonnays, right? Am I wrong? That's what this is supposed to be? Someone who knows better? I didn't do my research on wine before preparing for this lesson, I'll be honest. But I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Description. Sounds good. And if we reference it, we're going to return the wine name. That's a little big for me. Okay. All makes sense. No questions, right? Might be a little bit of a wake-up call going back to Django, but it's fine. You're going to pick it up quick again. Next, we need to make our migrations and migrate. So let's do that. Python manage.py. Manage.py is how we do most of our things. Make migrations. We're doing this because we created a new model. We need to migrate it to our database. Added it. Looks good. We've got a migration folder pop up. Where's it pop? There's migrations. And it creates the model line. From there, Python manage.py, migrate. It's in our database now. Looks good. Make your migrations. Yes. All right. And now it's telling us, hey, get in there, set up some wines. So let's do that. You can do it for the command line. You can do it with admin. I have gotten really used to using the admin panel. I like it, so I'm going to do that. What do we have to do before we can use the admin panel? Anyone remember?
You have to create a super user.
I do have to do that. Is there anything I need to do to be able to interact with this wine?
You have to register it in the admin.py.
Absolutely. Yep. So from models, import wine, and then, oh man, what is that? What is the invocation for this? It's admin.
Admin
Register.
that sites that register. I think. Yeah.
I think you're right. That sounds right to me. And then just wine.
It's killing.
What's that?
So the Zook is killing it. She remembers everything from Django.
Yeah, I'm very impressed.
It's been ingrained in my brain. I never forget.
Excellent. This is good. You'll be everyone will be bugging you during their individuals. Okay. I made a few edits to this last minute, but I just started up run throughs. This all should be good. We had some issues with what was going where. So set up our routes. We're going to the main project URLs, and we're going to set up our initial URLs. Not there, Jordan. So within wines, the main project. Get all this junk out of here. I don't need any of that. Copy this. Paste that. Looks good. That's where we're at. Admin path include. This is how we set up our URLs. So remember, we've got our admin path. Looks exactly like that. And we're also going to add a path for our application. Wine API will point at include wineapi.urls. I've seen a few of you get stumbled. This wineapi.urls has to be this folder's name here. Don't change that. Django doesn't understand where to go if those don't match. So should be good. Oh, I did all this work to set up the admin and I didn't actually. Let's go put those wines in there, huh? I get distracted. Python manage.py create super user. That's because that's not set up yet. Let's hold off on this for 1 second. Yep, we'll leave it squid. We'll leave that blank. Password one, password one. Yep, I don't care. Start it up. Should be good to go. Cool. There's my application running. Let's do admin. Looks good. I got my group, got my users, got my wines. Let's create some wines. Wine name. I don't have an idea. Squid shoes.
Boone's Farm.
What's the Boone's Farm? We'll come back to Boone's Farm. Price $900,000. Expensive wine here. Varietal. This is a Malbec. That's all I drink. Man, this is cheap. Save and add another. Boone's Farm. Price. I think it's like 80 cents. This is the cab. Cabernet. Is that right? It's something. Save and add another. Last one. Code Platoon special. I don't know. What should this one be, huh? Chardonnay? Is that right? No one make fun of me. Leave it alone. It's fine. I think there's two ends. Now we're all veterans here. No one's drinking wine. We're all, right. Save. All right, we got them all in there. Let's look at. Oh, here they are. Okay, so Squid Shoes, Boone's Farm, Cold Platoon Special. You can get in there. You can look at it. We good. Let's continue. We got some seed data. Let me uncomment that out because now it's going to be pointing somewhere. It's blowing up on us. That's okay because there is no wine API.urls. Remember, you got to create it yourself. So within wine APIs, let's create a new file called urls.py. Within there, copy, paste. So this isn't completely new. We've done stuff sort of like this with our authentication. We've used these view classes. We're going to be doing that now. And there's some reasons for this. To the new student or to where you guys are at, this might be a good reason. It's easy and it's fast, and I don't have to think about it. I'm going to have a very standardized way for setting up my views. The real reason is we will have conformity and convention, and all of our views are going to look exactly the same, which is why we like to use Django. So we're going to have our normal views, or a normal path, sorry, which is going to be views.wines view. This will be a class, capital letters, Pascal case, as you can guess, as view, and we're going to invoke as view. We will build out a view using Django. Name is wine list. Makes sense. The detail page will be taking in integer of primary key. This will also be in the wines view, and this will be wine detail. Notice we only have 2 URLs. That's all we need. We're going to make do with these, and I'm going to show you how. Does it call that out? Oh yeah, you will notice that you don't have that many routes defined, because with the REST framework, we're gonna kind of piggyback off them a little. So let's get to our views. I hate to copy paste this much stuff, so we're gonna kind of do it just a little bit at a time. And it may not make a ton of sense until we realize what serializers is doing for us. Yeah, so we're gonna do a little at a time. So let's do that. This is not going to blow anyone off. We're throwing anyone off too much. We are using the REST framework. We'll be using the response from there. We'll be using views. Why are there two of here, Chad? I missed that. Where did I just copy that? Get rid of there. Shortcuts, get object or 404. You may have seen that in the past. Models, wine, that makes sense for our views. But these serializers, they don't yet exist. We will be creating this wine serializer. Normally, our process we do is set up the model, set up the URL, set up the view. Now we're going to set up the model, set up the URL, set up the view sort of, and then set up the serializer. The serializer will work with the view to provide something that will be turned into JSON. I want to just do one at a time, just to not lose y'all. Let's set up this class here. Class is wines view. That should be familiar. We just, referenced it here. Let's jump in on one more. I do want my URLs open though. So we'll be handing it a primary key and nothing else. So for our get, we are going to have a class of wines view, and this is going to be our get requests. This is a real must-have thing. This is coming from this API view document, or sorry, not documentation, but library. You have to call it get. It's looking for get. If you call it, get all, it will not work. It doesn't know what that is. It's looking at this API view library and it's referencing get, which comes from it. You can't make up your own functions name or function names within, utilizing this library. So get, if there's a primary key, so if I do hand it a primary key, I want that detail page. So data is going to be wine objects.get, search it by that primary key. And then using the serializer, we're going to return this wine serializer object that I've been talking about. Otherwise, just get all of them. If we don't have a primary key, established, then I want to get all of them. Just get them all. And use the wine serializer and plug it into, get the data of all of them. And the serializer will take care of that for us. Return response, results, serialized data. That's going to be the response, but not what we're actually, this is what we're going to see. Can I just start it here? I think I can just start this up once I set up the serializer. I don't want to go too fast. So create a new file, wine API /serializers.py. Within wine API, let's create this new whammadime. Why does it jump to the other file? Trust me, that's when it does that. Serializers.py. Plural? Plural? Yes. Within serializers, we are going to import the model. We're going to import serializers from the framework, which we need, and then we're going to set a class. This wine serializer. Very important. Must have this. What does this look like to y'all? Have we seen something?
Model.
Yeah, it looks like a model. We're going to be mapping the model onto a JSON object. That's kind of it. So this, I believe, now I should have gone through and verified I could do pieces at a time, but I'm pretty positive this at least will get us a GET request. I think it will. We happy? Cool. Let's see what this looks like. So we're no longer going to do the admin page. This is running. Oh, look at that. What the heck just happened, Jordan? We are using the Django REST framework. That's why it's here. These are wines. That's what we're looking up. It figured that out because we told the serializer. Well, I think it just infers that. It's saying these are wines because that is the class and it pluralizes it. you're going to see here, we allow get, we receive headers and options. Content type is application JSON, and very accept. Here is the result. Remember this? This is our response. Result, serializer data. Here's our serializer data. It's JSONified. I'm pretty sure you can review this raw. Let me see. Yeah, I think you can just turn this into JSON. This is oh goodness. I swear to God, I don't play Warcraft 3, guys. Here's the API, or sorry, here's the JSON version of what we're returning. The serializer just kind of is handling some things for us, making it nice and clean. Let's go back. But this is what the serializer is doing for us. We can't really interact with this quite like the admin page, but what the difference between this and the admin page is this is actually what's being served. So when you work through the admin panel, you're interacting with your database directly through a shell that Django sets up. When you're interacting with it via the REST framework, you're actually interacting with your routes, and you're actually, poking at your application, hitting your URLs, hitting your views, going through serializers. That will make more sense when I do some CRUD applications. So does anyone have any questions right now about how this got here? Or why this is special? Or why you should care? This will make a little more sense as I move, promise. So back to our views. Let's keep running with that. Back. All right, so we're going to do a post. Still within our wines view, we've got a post method. Post, real word, you got to use it, comes out of the docs. We are going to set up a wine, and it's going to be built off of the request.data. So whatever hits our post is going to have data. It's going to have a JSON object ideally. And then this post request is going to say, hey, that's wine. Go to the serializer, that wine serializer here, and plug all this, plug this wine in that we just got as a post request into the wine serializer. If it works, raise exception doesn't mean there is an exception because it's true. Setting raise exception is saying, hey, raise an exception if there's a problem. We set that to true, so we catch errors this way. If it's valid, meaning I've received a post request. Let's start from stage one, actually. Once I set up the serializer, you're going to save that serializer, and you're going to respond, hey, I saved that wine. That's all the view is going to do. Remember, posts aren't going to return anything beyond just this output. Let's go to the serializer and account for that. We're going to have this create method here. So back up. Cool. We've got this create function. This serializer is now going to know how to create things. It's going to take validated data, which is all it can receive, and it's going to return a wine object created from that validated data. How it's going to do that, it's going to take whatever data has been handed to it, and it's going to try to plug it into this. It's going to say, hey, do I have a wine name? Do I have a price? Do I have a varietal? Do I have an ID? And it's going to plug it into this wine serializer object and then return that object, which is going to be JSON, to the view. The view is going to take it. If it was valid, it's going to continue and save it. If it wasn't valid, it's going to say, hey, that wasn't valid data, and kind of help me out there. But it's going to save that serializer, which is going to save to a model and then respond with, hey, you created a wine. Good job. So if I were to hit this path here of wine API / 2, I guess, or sorry, no, back up. This post is actually going to be for this URL. So our main path here, if you just go to it, if you get it, you're going to get a list of wines. If you post to it, because you won't have an ID, so you don't really have anything to post to, you're going to go to this view, and it's going to see your post request. it will take whatever data you gave it, plug that into the serializer because you're creating. Serializer save, it's going to try and initialize this serializer. If it works, it's going to return it. The view is going to have a returned validated serializer and return that as JSON. Let's see that in action if everything works the way I want it to. Reload, looking good. So we've got our list of wines, and then you see down here, we've got this bit now. It's a post option. If I hit this, it's probably going to blow up and say, hey, this is required. This is required. You didn't give me any of this stuff. So what this is telling me, oh goodness, that's right. The back button doesn't really do what you expect it to do here. It wants JSON and it wants to post that. So let's do that. Let's give it some JSON. We'll paste some here. We're going to do this one. It's going to be a new wine. And what is this? Where's my description on this? Am I not returning a description? I'm not, am I? Wonder why we're not doing that. Interesting. Well, not a problem. We're just going to change this name to created via DRF, Django REST framework. So I'm hitting it from this REST framework right now. Price can be something different. That's fine. I will need to make this a unique ID and create that. Doesn't really matter. We can just leave that there. Again, you're not really going to be interacting with this in this manner, but you can. And what's cool about this and what's different about this is that we're not using the admin panel. We're interacting via our URLs and views that we've set up. And it's kind of a better way, I guess, to test your application. This is kind of like Swagger, which I've talked about in the past. This is hooking up to your application, pulling in everything, utilizing it, and actually testing it out as we go. So let me copy this in case it gets mad at me for any reason. But hey, here's a media type. It's application/JSON. I'm giving it a JSON object. Ideally, I should be able to post this. Hey, look at that. So what happened? Remember, we are at Wine API. We are at this URL, this nothing burger URL, nothing else, just the slash. And I did a post request. Because I did a post request to this URL, it went to our views and said, hey, I didn't get a GET request. I got a post request. And I got some data. We're going to say this variable wine is that data that we got from the request because I just sent it. Y'all saw I sent it, this data here. So it's going to take this and run to the serializer. Hey, serializer, I got some data. And look at that. I've got some wine name. It says, oh, yeah, I found that. I got my price, my varietal, ID, created that. And it's like, yep, got all that. That looked good. Let's try to create it. So it's going to try and create that with that validated data. Sends it back to the view. The view saying, oh, is that valid data? Sounds good to me. Let's save it. And let's return to the user, hey, result, wine, blah, 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 wine name. There's my result, wine created via DRF. You would get that by poking this application directly. We just didn't print that response, but that's the response we got from our server. We're kind of doing what Postman would do, except we're not using Postman. We're using our application that we stood up. I'm going to run through put and delete next. They will be very quick. Do we have any questions about what I just did just now?
What does that created via DRF actually means? Yeah, I don't know what to ask, but yeah, that result wine created via DRF. Could there be any other message in there that would let you know that it didn't go successfully, or like what does DRF even mean? I'm confused.
Django REST framework.
Oh.
I said the wine name is created via Django REST framework.
Oh, there you go. Oh, okay.
So that when I look at my list here, we will know which one it was. Because when you go to create a bunch of dummy data, sometimes I'm bad about like wine one, new wine one, and then I never know what I'm doing. So that's why I put that so we didn't get confused as to which one. This is the one we just created. These are the ones I created earlier. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, awesome. All right.
So it's not just like a whole form. You can just pick and choose the fields you want.
Yeah, basically. I mean, so there's no form, right? Like this, you could use a form and we could set up and provide a form to the user. I'm showing you once that form would be submitted, just the object that is left from it is what our views have always been looking for in the first place. Whether you submit it via form, whether you just threw raw JSON objects at it, like we are sending a post with JSON and hitting this view, and it is deconstructing that, validating it with a serializer, and then trying to create a model out of it. So this would be like submitting a form, but we're doing it real dirty. We're doing it real hacky. I'm providing it the object that it wants without, without, you wouldn't normally be doing this, but the purpose of showing you that we can post this way is to show you it actually working its way through the application as raw JSON. Because you will, in React, you might be taking forms, from the user and all that, but you're going to be building a JSON object and sending it to, Django. So regardless of how you build out that request, it's going to ultimately have to look exactly like this. It's going to need a wine name, a price, a varietal ID, and a created ad. If it doesn't have one of those things, the serializer is going to say, nope, not coming through, and it's going to stop it. So you got to build this object, and that is the only way you're going to be able to post to our application, which is good because that's what we need. I'll show the descriptions on these because we skipped that, but I could very easily add descriptions, but I'm not going to go off book just yet. Did I answer the question you had? I think I went at it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, cool. So let's finish up the next bits. I gotta move a little faster. I've got quite a bit after this to go through as well. Put and delete. I'm going to post these together. They look very similar. Well, at least put looks like post. Oh, because it didn't. Okay. Sorry about this big note. I kept this for myself. So we've got a put request. Put request needs a primary key, right? So, back to URLs, sorry. So that's going to hit this path. If there is a primary key provided, it's going to hit this wine detail. Sorry, if there's a primary key provided, it's going to append that onto the URL that we're posting at. It's going to hit these ones that require a primary key. This wines view knows that if you're doing a get, you don't need a primary key. If you're doing a post, you don't really need a primary key, but you do need to feed put and delete primary keys, because otherwise they're not going to know what they're updating or deleting. So let's talk about put. I've got this saved wine here, and the reason we're using variable saved wine because we're actually going and getting a wine. This is a put request, we're making an edit. So saved wine is going to be this get object or 404. Really nice. We don't want our application to blow up. Wine object dot all primary key is equal to the primary key fed via the URL. That's a parameter. Data is going to be that request dot data, the same as when you post, right? Request dot data. We are going to set up serializer, except the serializer is going to look up an instance. It's going to be this saved wine, which is going to be an instance. When this pulls it out from Django, this is an instance. We are going to plug that instance of saved wine into the wine serializer. Its data is going to be the data from the request. And partial means true. What this means, and why I left this for myself, because I thought someone was going to ask, we don't have to provide all of the fields. The serializer here it says, hey, I need all these things. But since this is an instance and since this already exists, if we're not changing the varietal and the user doesn't provide a varietal, it's not going to say, oh, I don't have that actually. We're using partial because that's fine. If I'm not updating the varietal, I don't really want to. You can, but I don't have to send you that data. I'm just going to say, leave that alone. I'm not changing that. I'm only sending you the data that I want to change. Oh yeah, I talked about this. That flag's an error, so left that for me. So that's what the isValid does. So again, like a post, it's going to go to the serializer, run it through here, verify it's valid data, and then respond with it. Except I think I'm missing one thing. Let's see. Do we need the rest of our serializer? Yeah, we sure do. Because we're not creating a new one. Serializer needs to know how to update. Oh, this is just not pasting the way I want it to. Cool. So now we have update. So since we provided an instance, this is a wine that we know already created. We are passing it when we're doing this edit, an instance of that saved wine along with the new data. And we're saying, hey, if it's not all the data you need, get over it. It's fine. It's going to plug it in to the serializer, and then anything that needs to be updated from this data, it's going to update and save it. Don't create a new one. Don't create a new one. Just save it and return that instance back. The views are going to, see if it's valid, save it, and the result or return a response of, hey, it's been updated. Makes sense, right? We'll blow through delete real quick. This one I don't think touches the serializer. Delete. Give me a primary key. Give me a delete request. I'm going to go find that wine, just like I always have. I'm going to delete it. Then I'm going to respond with, hey, I deleted it, 204. Doesn't need the serializer for that. Any questions?
Yeah, so that serializer, if you had taken off the created app property, it still would have worked just fine. It just would because you had the auto time zone on it. In the model after, yeah.
You talk about this?
Yeah, so yeah, if you remove that, it still would have just, if someone made a post request in the database, it would have showed us created at whatever the time zone now was.
Yeah, I think it would have. I think I didn't need to provide that. I think you're right. I believe I needed the. Let's see. Let's try it. Because now I'm not sure. But it should default, right? Isn't that what our model says? Default time
Yes.
zone now? Yeah. All right. So let's try that out. Because now I'm curious. What the? I don't want you to tell me how to work. Let's create a new one. Do we have a put here now? Oh, we sure do. Dang. So let's create us a new one. Let's get rid of that. Don't need you. We do need to do do a primary key. Keep in mind, or keeping track of this mentally, not really a thing you should have to do. Just showing you this is what it expects. Usually Django will provide this to it, but if you're going to be getting into the brains of it and working at it, you need to be providing it a primary key. Out. See what happens. Ooh. Oh wait, hold on. Did I give it bad data? Oh, I think I. Oh, okay. So I didn't give it valid JSON. I'm pretty sure because I had a trailing comma. You can't do that. JSON. That's not real JSON. I think that's what it's telling me. Post. Oh, created at. Now it's required. So it's not happy about that. I might be able to do. Actually, I don't know. I guess it may require that. Okay, yeah, so it's gonna require me to give it one. The fact that the model defaults does not satisfy the serializer. So what we would probably have to do in the serializer, that might be a thing. I'm experimenting now. I'm not positive. Yeah, it doesn't like that. You would have to provide that to the serializer. So it's not get smart enough to go look at the model and update that doing it this way. That answers your question. Again, what I'm doing right now is not how you're going to be like working with this all the time. I'm just showing you that we are in the brains of it and not the admin brains. We're in the views, URLs, models. We're interacting with our application directly and not via the database, via admin. Does that answer the question? That's disappointing, isn't it? Cool. So I'm not going to test this via Postman. We could, but you've seen what I just done. Postman, we would connect to this and we would send it data just like I did. It would accept the exact same data. It would need it in the exact same format. It would still be returning these responses. The difference is, and why I prefer this, is because this is being created from our application. And it gives you a, I don't know, Postman's fine, Insomnia is fine. I like those things. I like those tools. This is built right into our application, and there's no lies here. Nothing's doing any work for us. We're building these responses out real time and seeing them pop up real time as they're done. I don't have to create an edit request. I've got a field here right now that's saying, hey, you want to do a put? You need to give me application JSON. It needs to look like one of these, and then I'll handle it. Pretty sure we can do that. Is that gonna work the way I think it is? Oh, doesn't have primary key. Why's that upset? I swore I just tested this. It should work. Let's try that out. Ooh, it's not getting that primary. Oh, I know what's going on. That's right. Okay, so I'm not thinking about this the right way. So this, we are here, right? This is the endpoint we're at. This is the route we're at. If I wanted to look at one of these in particular, I need that primary key. I need that argument, this parameter. So I can't post when I hit this put button right here. This is going to try to put to here, which is not going to serve. We need to put to here. So let's go this way first. So now we're looking at the wine detail. We are looking and we're asking for a get request, and we provided a primary key. So it's going to return this wine detail bit here, which is this. So now I can edit it because when I hit this poster, or sorry, this post, it's going to go here. That's just a put, shouldn't it? Yep. Put is going to hit this ID, and we're providing it all the correct info. That worked. Result, created via DRF, edited via DRF update. That is the response we got. Let's look at all of them again. Verified actually updated. Sure did. Edited via DRF. That makes sense. Sorry if that was tricky. This is I fell into the sinkhole 3 times prepping for this lecture because I kept trying to send it to the wrong URL. Any questions?
Jordan, what is again the status, the one you put status in the delete? You put status equals to 204.
Yes.
That is the 204. Where-
No content. Yeah, we could have done a 200. You could do two, like, okay. There's very few of these you really need to pay attention to ever. Generally 200, 403, 500. Chad wanted to be fancy and do 204 saying no content to, you know, it worked, it's good, but there's no content because you deleted it. We could have used 200 also. That's all that means. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yes. And then can
Alright.
I have another question?
Yes.
Like, because when we were doing Django before, like for example, if you want to edit or delete, like in the URL, we put /edit/delete. So that this time we don't need to do that anymore.
You've never had to do that. You can do that. That is something you could do. We could do, you know, because we're using the serializer, because we're doing this RESTful, you know, we're doing Django's RESTful manner. We don't need to do that here. We could build out new routes for everything saying like, hey, use this. Don't use this wines view, you know, that I've created, use something else. And we could build those routes out ourselves. We don't have to do that with the serializer. That is a preference kind of thing, I would say. I like those. I like /delete. I like /edit. Because it keeps it real clear as to what you're doing. But it's not important either. Because if you're going to the views, it's going to tell you what happens when you hit that type of request. It doesn't need to be in the URL as long as the request type is there. So we sent a delete type request. Or did we? Let's test that out. That's one thing we didn't test, did we? Let's delete this one. So we're at Wine API. Here's our one that we've edited. We created it all through the Django REST framework. Let's see if we can delete it. Want to delete it? Yeah, I think I do. Wine ID 4 deleted. We got a 204 response. If we refresh this, we're probably going to have nothing. Yeah, it doesn't actually exist. That really shouldn't blow up like that. Here we go. And it's gone. So also able to delete. Does that answer your question and then get off track?
I guess, thank you.
Excellent. Anyone else have any other questions?
So can you just give us a quick introduction how you would integrate this with React? I mean, I'm kind of assuming that you just run the server and then you pull from this API and then you kind of render it on your page.
Yes.
Is there anything else you can?
So no, I mean, I could do that. That's not what I want to do because there's something more pertinent that I need to explain next. But to answer your question, that is your assignment. Yeah, so just as you have in React referenced URLs, you pulled them in with Axios or Fetch or whatever the flavor of the week was for the library you want to use. You're just going to reference your running server. So in my React application, I would target this here, this 127.0.0.1 or 8,000, whatever, with this port number, and that would be hitting and receiving this JSON just like this. If I were to fetch this right here, I would get this JSON object. If I were to fetch this one, I would get this JSON object. I could demonstrate that, but it's basically just going to be hooking up, creating a fetch. I can do that. There's something I would much rather go into though before we do that. And also, I think you could probably figure it out pretty quick. Does that disappoint you?
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
I was just wondering if you had like a different way you did it, because that's kind of what I was assuming. So if you had like a different or quicker way, or you know, if just your expertise, I was wanting to pick your brain. Yeah, that
What
works.
do you mean? What do you mean by different way? Like,
Um, like so, like for a React, right? So we would create within this DRF lecture file, I guess we would just create a React app, but in Django, you know, we create our templates and then we go through creating our pages that way. So I didn't know if we had to integrate it that way or if we just create the React app itself and then just pull from the API.
yeah. So like I talked about at the beginning, we're separating them completely. Don't put your React app in this folder. Put it somewhere else. Doesn't matter. This API is set up. It's running on my server and it is serving requests. Your React app can go run free, set it up yourself, and then just make fetches to this right here.
Good deal. Okay. Appreciate it.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Sorry to throw it off. We're not going to be hooking these up. We're not connecting them. They're very separated things. That is the end of the lecture. However, all of you might have this question burned in the back of your head. That's cool, Jordan, but what about crudding it? Is it easy? Or sorry, not crudding it. What about nesting it? Is that easy? And the answer is yes, but it's a little different. I'm going to pretty quickly blast through that because I want you to see it. But it will take just a little bit. We're pushing an hour on this. So I think it'll take me, it won't take me too long, I think. Does anyone want to take a break? Should I pause before I jump into the next bit of this?
I'm good to keep going. And don't feel like you have to be quick because I watch these videos over and over. They're very helpful. So just do your thing, man.
Alrighty. I will go through the CRUD aspect of this. I'm gonna open it up because it's very easy to mistrack yourself with all the names.
Hey, before you move on, just really quick, when you create a new object and you do the view for the create, you have to increment the ID, right, inside the content. It will not do it for you, right?
Well, yes, when you're plugging in directly, it won't, and that's something you're gonna have to, figure out a means for doing. Because the way I have this set up, making a post request, because in the serializer, that's not defaulting to something. It's saying, hey, I need an ID. I have to provide an ID because the serializer needs it. Now, if we took that away, we can't. I'm sure there's probably a way to go about this to not demand that primary key, but because we're using the serializer, it is going to check for an ID, whether you're creating it or whether you're updating it. So again, remember, we're digging in the brains of it. Wouldn't be normally doing it this way. But it's going to need a primary key generated in some means. Whether that is, removing that from the wine serializer and saying, hey, actually ignore that ID, or if we're going to, on the back end, pull all of the models, increment it by one, and then plug that in. You want to automate that. You don't want the user to have to think about that, but we're going to have to kind of code that out either on the front end or on the back end. Because I'm interacting with it directly and the serializer demands an ID, I have to feed it an ID and I have to feed it a unique ID when I create a post.
Yeah, okay.
Alrighty then. So to nest this is not complicated, but it's there's a few things to think about. And I just want to go through it so that you have something to reference at the very least. But if you don't stop eating your feet, oh, this is the worst noise on earth. Okay, so I am going to add a URL. Just like normal, we start with URLs. Actually, no, we start with the models. Let's start with a model. I'm going to nest something. I'm going to call it comments. So even though this is not a wine rating application, it's just the API, I still want to encode something nested in here. So just like above, I mean, if you really want to, you can copy paste some of this stuff. Let's do it that way. And then take out what we need. Comments are going to be associated with wine. So we are going to need to foreign key those models, foreign key associated with wine. And then always nice to have on delete models dot cascade, meaning again, when you delete a wine, get rid of all the comments associated with it. Comments should probably have a I don't know, call it a rating, and then we'll do like comment dot comment, I guess. Let's call it just comment. That's fine. Comment dot comment. I don't love that, but it's what we're gonna do. If you were to reference this, again, the string method, not necessary, but we're just going to return the comment bit itself. This is going to be like the meat of the comment. We call it body if we wanted to. I'm going to do it this way. There's our new model. We've created a model. Because we've created a model, we need to get that in our database. Make migrations. Migrate. Dunzo should be in the old database now. Should have a migration for it. Looks like we do. Next, I want to interact with the admin panel for this, so I'm going to just do the extra little step to throw it in here. And because I'm feeding it to, I need to do it like this. That is the same as like just drawing a second. I could make a second line here and do comment, but you can actually feed this a list. Thank the Python gods, it accepts a list. All right, URL setup, admin is set up. Do we need anything else? Not to create them. Let's go straight into admin panel. Let's start our server first, guys. Cool. There's our comments. Add a comment. Oh, look, it's foreign keyed exactly like I wanted. Squid shoes rating 10. Literally gold. Save, add another. Wine. Platoon special 0. No, let's do it. You know, Platoon's birthday was the other day. Let's be happier about this. Great. Save, done. We've got comments on. I want to make sure they all have comments just to have good data. 0, don't drink this. Cool. All our comments are associated with drinks. All our drinks have associated comments. Good data. We set up our models. Next, we need to set up our URLs. Get rid of these comments. We don't need no comments no more because we know what we're doing. Drop down. So the way I want to do these, the way I've decided to do these, your mileage may vary. I am going to make a few changes. So notice this is primary key. Primary key. I need to pass in 2 keys. So that makes me not very much like the name of this. So I will change both of these to wine primary key. And I want to do that because I'm going to add, let's see, comments. That's fine. Comments, view. So I am going to have to create a new view, and that's fine. So when I go to my view page, I'm going to create one called comments view to go alongside the wines view. This one is going to be all of the comments. So for whatever wine I have, I'm going to want to see all the comments. It's a list of comments. We're going to call it the comment list. I did that the most painful way possible. It's supposed to look like this. So we've got our list. Let's make our detail. Int y comments, comments, and now much like this detail, we're going to want integer comment primary key. Comments view. That's view name comment detail. Something worth noting. You could, if you really, really wanted to. You can make a path that looks like this if you had to, because if I know what my comment primary key is, I don't need to know what the wine primary key is anymore. It doesn't matter, because if I have access to this comment, let's say I'm pulling up that comment, I would be able to do comment dot wine dot ID, right? Because it is a foreign key. My comment has access to whatever its wine dad is. So I can go get wine and then I can get the ID from there. Design decision, however you want to do it. I'm going to do it this way because it's kind of consistent with how we've taught. But keep in mind, you know, providing the wine and then saying comments and then giving the integer of the comment is not completely necessary, because I already know I will be able to suss this information out once I am provided with a comment primary key. Does that make sense? Am I throwing somebody off with my line of reasoning here? Moving forward, we don't even have to remember. Look, Django's yelling at me saying, hey, you didn't set up no views. All right, fine. Let's go. It's saying I don't have that comments view. So let's do that. Create a brand new one. New class here at the bottom. Comments view. Fast. Let's not pull this up right now. So what I basically need to do is copy everything here for the most part. There will be some changes. Paste it down here and then, you know, kind of work on it. But for the sake of replication, we're going to do these, I don't want to say quick, but we're going to do them one by one and explain them. And hopefully, you know, I don't lose anybody. Stop me if I'm going too fast on that. Oh, and I am going to do some quick changes here. So remember, in my URL, I said, hey, I don't like that anymore. I want that to be wine PK, not just PK. And I was going to fix this in the curriculum, but I decided I want to do this like a little bit before class, and then decided it was not a good idea to change this on the fly. So we're just going to change it as we go, and we'll be quick about it. So everywhere where it says primary key, and we're not talking about this primary key, it needs to say wine primary key, wine PK, wine PK here. Not this one, because the primary key is actually how you get it in the object. We're not changing the model, are we? Yeah, that'll be good. Keep moving down. Post. We don't need a primary key. There it is. Just doing a little bit of cleanup. Primary key. key, primary key, primary key, primary key, primary key. I think that's it. I think we got it all. Nope, we didn't. Now we did. Good to go. Hopefully everything still works. Looks like it works. I didn't blow anything up. Excellent. Egg salad. All right. Let's replicate some work. So let's just copy paste and see what we get. Looks good. I like copy paste. It saves us a lot of work. We're obviously going to change some things. So this is the comments view. So this is going to be either the list or the detail. So if it's the list, cool. We won't have a comment primary key. If it is the detail page, it will have a primary key provided, and it will infer what you want from there. So wine PK, that is going to be pretty much right there, and right there, right there, and right there, right there, right there. Everything is going to have to be comment. These, except for the few that need to be capitals, because we're talking about the models here, or the classes here. And these are still going to blow up because I haven't brought these in. Again, we created the models first, then the URLs. Our views are going to get mad if we don't reference the comment model. So that's why all that was kind of going red. And it's still going to be red because I haven't created that serializer yet. But that's okay. We'll get to that in a second. So check our work. If there's a primary key, actually, is there more coming at it here? Looking at our URL, this is going to require a wine no matter what, because we're going to need the comment list for all of the wines. So it needs to know what the wine key it's getting. Otherwise, actually, so I think this is why I decided not to do it this way, because I didn't think too deeply about what my views needed to look like, and I wanted to. I thought it'd be simpler to just keep it, provide them the wine key anyways, because I want to do this all in one GET request. So something we need to add here is wine primary key is going to be just like that. So this endpoint is being provided. This parameter of wine primary key, this one, wine primary key and comments. Or if we're looking for a specific comment, it'll be the wine primary key comments, and then a specific one for the detail, comment detail. Just like above, if provided a primary key for the wine, it'll have a wine detail. If provided a primary key for the comment, we're going to want that comment detail. Otherwise, we want the list. So before moving on, let's go create this comment serializer. Nice, helpful thing here saying, hey, you still got work to do to the serializers. I like to copy paste. Let's just copy paste the GET. That's all I want to do right now. New class, comment serializer. And what did I end up making this look like? Let me just double check my work. So our comment has comment. It has rating, which is a char field also. Doesn't have that. Does maintain an ID. I got rid of this. That's that. So just like above, we've got this model looking serializer. For comments, we really only, again, have the rating and the comment, and you have an associated wine. This ID is going to be provided. And, oh, there is one other thing I did forget. We are going to need wine ID to reference it. The serializer is going to want to make sure we've got an integer provided that is that wine ID. I'll leave it just like that. And we're going to get that from the URL. URL is going to provide it here. The view is going to pass it on. It will be able to, pull it up out of there. But the serializer is going to want to make sure we have a wine ID set. Wine ID is the defaulted name that our model is going to give it because Django does that. If you go dig in the database, because I have this foreign key here, it will have wine underscore ID set. That's what Django does for us. It thinks about us. Okay. So I don't yet need this create. I don't yet need this update. I just have this thing here. I think that's all I need. Is everything happy? Comment serializer is still red. That's because I didn't bring it in. Happy, happy. Let's see if this worked. So our URL would be our standard URL, except we're gonna have a wine primary key. So let's get that one. Okay, looks good. There's our get request. Then comments, which should list all of the comments under that bad boy. Did I mess up? No, it's comments. There we go. Here are all of the comments. Is this getting all the comments? Ooh, I think I didn't set this up properly when I did it. Because it's giving us all of the comments. Okay, so what I should have done. It should only get the ones where the wine primary key. Well, it is here. Yeah, sorry, for this one, it's giving us all the comments. That is a mistake. We should get all where the how does it, what's the best way to do that?
You didn't put the comment. You didn't put the comment PK in yet, so that's why it's giving you all. Because you also have to add the.
Yeah, right. And what I'm saying is I don't want all of them. I only want all of them for this wine. It's spitting them all out. I want, and I need to remind myself how this works. Get all.
You could do filter, right?
Can I, is filter the way, or is this like the, does that work? Let me double check and then I'll use filter. Yeah, it doesn't like that. Interesting. Yeah, shoot, how does filter work? Filter. I gotta remind myself. Who remembers the Django that well? Oh, goodness gracious. Filter,
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up too. I forgot how filter was.
iterable, return iterator yielding those objects, blah, blah, blah. Function is none. Return items that are true. Oh, goodness gracious. We can come back to this. Sorry about that. I when I was setting this up, I obviously didn't give myself very good data and didn't recognize that was an issue. That's okay. We'll come back to it. What I want to do is I want to, obviously filter, when you do your comments, filter by just the ones that are associated with that wine. If somebody wants to look that up, keep looking up. I'm going to keep moving forward because I would like to fix that. But great. That's all of them. And then we can look at the very first comment here. And that's it. Wine API, wine number 1, comments, comment 1. There's also
I found
comment
it
2.
if you want.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so keep your dot all as is and just add on dot filter parentheses and then do your PK equals PK, whatever.
Oh, dang, that was way too easy, huh? Is that gonna make it happy? Is that gonna make it mad?
Well,
Do you replace the all with filter?
not at what I'm looking at here on the Django documentation.
That got it. Is my Django behind? So comments to objects.filter. There might be another way to do that, but we got it. So For wine number 1, that's its comment. If I look at wine number 2, it should just be whatever comment was for wine number 2. And that is working as intended. Great. Cool, 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 cool. Let's do the others. So for post, let's create one. Let's copy everything we got here and run down with it. Content. This is going to be quick things. So when we post, we are still going to need that wine primary key because we didn't know which primary key, or sorry, which wine we're posting to. We won't have a comment primary key. That's why we're not going to be putting one of the posts. That makes sense. We don't have it. We will change this to comment. We will change this to comment serializer. We will change that to comment. This one here. What else? Where else is there a word wines? Wine saved. Not really super necessary to do that actually, but I think you could probably just. Oh, we're going to put it here so we can reference it later. That makes sense. And there we go. Easy peasy copy paste, change all the wine to comments. Why I wanted to walk through this, because some of the easy, it looks easy. I know it feels like we're just kind of replicating, but going through it twice is not a bad idea. But I want you to keep in mind when and why we need these primary keys of these other guys. Because we are nested, I'm going to need to know the wine primary key to create a comment for it. I can't provide it a comment primary key because we haven't built it yet. But when we put and delete, we can, and we will need those. So back to the serializer. Much like this create function, we're going to do the exact same darn thing. Bring it on down. Put it right there. And obvious, easy comment .objects .create comment. Hold on a second. Oh, I never brought this in. There, now we know what a comment is. And we couldn't create it if we didn't know. All right. We got our URL, we got our serializer, we got our view. Let's see if we can do it. This is wine number 2. Remember, this is, which one is wine number 2? Those trailing slashes get you every time. This is the Boone's Farm. Let's make a comment for Boone's Farm by going to comments and posting a comment. So our comments are going to need all of these things. We're going to have to give it an ID because it's not smart enough to figure that out on its own just yet. The comment is comment from DRF. DRF, not where I work. Same Ryan, that's fine. That's fine. Line 3. Is it line 3? Why is it? I think this wine ID does not line up with that. That is fine. Post. It's mad. I did not have a unique ID. That needs to be very unique. Copy paste, I'll lose my work. Post. And no comment name. What does it talk about?
It's in your response. You just have to comment that comment.
Yeah, you're very right. Oh, it did create. It just blew up on me. That's what I get for not copying my work. that from? Wines view post. I'm not posting to wines though. Oh. Oh. Yeah, I know this is a little bit difficult to track and it's easy to lose where you're at. I, again, was on the wrong URL. I need to post to the correct URL. So if I'm giving it, you know, stop that. I'm going to be giving it JSON. I need to be giving it JSON that it expects. I need to be doing it in the proper URL. Let's set this to something we've used before. Oh, no, that's fine. There it went through. Goodness gracious. But yeah, a lot of missteps there. If you're copy pasting things from what you've already done, make sure you do get it all. That works. We should be able to see this now. If we refresh this page, why is it not giving us all of the comments here? Where in the heck did it go? Where did my comment go? Oh my goodness. Oh, I've got these. It's picking up the wrong one. Goodness. All right, we'll return to that. I don't want to get too caught up on that. Wow, that is backwards. I must have mixed it up in my serializer. No, that's right. That's not right. That should be the wine ID. Should be the wine ID. Let's get these other ones out, and I'll troubleshoot that. Now I'm thinking I got my wires crossed. All this should look about the same. So for our put request, we're going to need that wine primary key. We're also going to need our comment primary key, saved comment, get or 404, just like we did above. Pull all those out. Give me just the one I want. The data is going to be what we've received. We're going to run through the serializer, which we will add here in a second, with a saved comment as the instance, give it the data, and it's okay to be partially filled out. It's an update. We don't want to need to have it, give it all the fields, you know, just the fields that are changing. If the serializer is valid, if it's not valid, more importantly, throw an exception. But if it is valid, save it, respond, we got it in there. Delete, easy peasy. All I need to know is the wine primary key, the comment primary key, find it and delete it. Truly, I don't need this at all, but if you find a primary key for the comment, delete that bad boy from comments. So let's update serializers with the last piece, which is going to look a lot like the one above.
Hey, Jordan, I think your screen froze. Oh, there it is.
Did it? Is it me? Anyone else see me freezing?
No, I see it.
All right. So if we update it, we're going to need the comment, the rating, the ID, save. Easy peasy. We're going to be pulling that from the validated data. Whew. I think that's everything. Now what I'm mad about is why this is pulling the wrong one. Because that doesn't make sense.
Hey, Jordan, the way we filtered that those comment objects in the get method for comments view, because we were trying to like filter it on like that foreign key relationship where it equals wine PK, not just the comments PK.
Yes.
And I can say it, but I don't understand how to do it. But that's what it looks like. Like it was supposed to, where it says PK equals wine PK, maybe it was supposed to be like the PK of its foreign key relationship to wine equals wine PK.
Oh. Hmm. Yeah. Maybe it's supposed to be this. This is wine PK. Is that what's going on? Is that what's going on? Oopsies, that's not right. Wine PK in the field. Choices are comment, ID, rating, wine, wine ID. Oh, yeah. Very smart. That's what it's supposed to be. Because we're filtering off of wine ID. That's what it was looking for. PK, it was associating PK with the ID of the comment. That's why I was getting all borked. Goodness gracious. Is that still? So I would expect to see multiple comments here. Great. Yeah, there they are. You saved us. Thank you very much. Does that make sense to everyone? I'm sorry that we had that kerfuffle. Takeaways. Make sure you filter off of what your parent nested data object is. Keep in mind, you'll be needing the primary keys somehow from its parent nested object. But otherwise, mainly copy paste. But again, as you just seen, copy paste can get you in some trouble if you don't think about it completely. Because even what I did earlier and prepared for was a little off. But that's okay. We worked through it. Sorry that took so long. Do we have any questions? I will. So at the end of the curriculum, you've got a completed version of what this is all supposed to look like. You can use that. I will also post mine because it's nested. You won't need that to do your assignment today, but maybe in the future you might, want to have something to look at that works the way is intended. Me fiddling with posting via, the Django REST framework, if that threw you off a little bit, main things to keep in mind are remember where you're at. If I'm trying to post, it really shouldn't provide me with this post. I think I can hide that. But the fact that this is allowing us to do a put here, that's not really going to work because this endpoint doesn't actually serve a put. If it wanted a put, you would need to go, to that comment to update it there. So as long as you are where you think you're at and you're posting content that matches all of your validations, everything you need, and you're giving it, in a version that it can understand, you'll be able to interact with not just your database directly, because we can already do that with admin, but interacting with your views, your URLs, and your serializers, and your models directly, which if you don't understand the difference between those two, I can definitely explain that better, but I think it's important to know the difference. One is just plugging into the app you set up, and the other one is actually interacting with every bit of the app that you set up, all the way from the whole model view controller and now serializer. So no one's going to be getting on your application and setting it up by doing these kind of things, but I just wanted to show you that you're able to. That's one of the things the serializer provides. And most importantly, what the serializer provides is this right here. It spits out JSON back to us from a data object. That's not what this would look like if we tried to, print this. I don't know what it would look like if we were to return that immediately. It might just be the primary key. Maybe it'd just be like a 3, and you wouldn't be able to really do anything with it. getting it returned as JSON is extremely important. And that's the exact URL you go to if you want a JSON version of that data. Any questions? All right.
Jordan, for example,
Yes.
if you have some validation, do you have to put it in both your model and models and for your serializer?
No, that will just go in your models.
I
Your
just
serializer,
okay.
yeah, your serializer, you're matching the model to the data you want going out, but that's not like I use the word validation, and that's not right there. That should be when you're in your models or associated with your models in your validations.py or wherever you want to put those. The serializer is Django REST framework is giving us all this, beautiful other stuff we've got. But this output JSON right here, that's really all the serializer is doing. So we're telling it, hey, whatever I give you, this right here, create JSON. This is what the JSON is going to be. You're going to get it from these things that we passed you, and you're going to create objects out of them. It says validated data, but it's not validated as in validating against the model. It's validated against this input here. Notice our wine model had a description, but our serializer does not. And we don't really ever talk about it. So it's still there. It's just not being showed up. It's not being shown with our JSON. If I wanted to show it, pretty sure all I need to do, I don't know if Chad left this out on purpose or not, but it is nice to show the point. This is creating, in this regard, this is creating the JSON, but it could also create XML or a myriad of other things. This is, think of this as a JSON object. Even though it looks like Python, this is what the JSON object is going to become. Because I've added description here, pretty sure, I hate doing things on the fly because I never know what's going to happen. But hey, look at that. Now our description is showing. If we didn't want to show the description, we could take it out of here. I don't want to see created date anymore. It's gone. This is just what we're returning. This is not interacting with the model. This is interacting with the serializer, which is printing the JSON that we're getting back. So the app is still working fine, doing its thing, making nasty over here. The serializer is what we're going to be showing and providing to these endpoints. To anyone who touches the endpoints, that's what they're going to be getting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?